What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of Holding Court here on the First State Hoops Report YouTube channel. If you guys are new to the channel and this YouTube channel and this show, my name is Chris Stevens. I am the founding editor of First State Hoops Report and the producer, host, editor slash whatever you want to call this thing of Holding Court, which is a weekly show where I talk about everything related to Delaware basketball and sometimes things off the beaten path about Delaware basketball and basketball in general. So thank you guys for tuning in. I invite you to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you be notified of everything that drops on this channel, whether we're dropping highlight packages, interviews, which I probably am excited. I am excited to start the process of bringing special guests on to Holding Court so we can chop it up about sport, about basketball in Delaware, what they're doing with themselves these days, different things of that nature, everything that's on the channel. And all manners of social media will be in the description below. I would say you're more likely to catch us on Instagram than anything else because X is just an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, I know a lot of people still have to use X for different reasons, and First State Hoops Report is no different. But more likely you can catch us on Instagram at First State Hoops Report, or if you still use Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/First State Hoops Report and catch us there. Also, if you want to email us about anything, firststatehoopsreport@gmail.com. You type that word out. So, you guys can, just type out firststatehoopsreport@gmail.com and you can find us there. Okay. Introductions out of the way. How's everybody doing? We wrapped up the season a couple of weeks ago officially. Well, officially it wrapped up today with the Blue Gold game down in Smyrna. I wasn't able to get down there because, well, my car failed inspection. So I'm just not risking it with, Delaware's finest because some of these troopers are very shiesty, nasty individuals. We'll talk more about why that's important in relations to Delaware State athletics in a minute. And I mean Delaware the state, not Delaware State University. But yes. So I didn't want to risk that. And I'm still, working on some different things for HBCU Sports, which is my day job. We got some exciting things coming up. Monday is something we're going to be making an announcement that I can't give away as of yet, because my boss wants this to be a big production, as he always does. And I indulge him because, well, it's fun being there. I mean, yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but I'll be doing some really fun stuff with HBCU Sports coming up. So we've been fine tuning that this week as well. So, but apparently from what I could see from different people posting different clips, the Blue Gold game for both the boys and the girls had some very exciting action. So shouts out to those seniors, class of 2025. It has been fun covering y'all the last 4 years. Remember, y'all started when we were still wearing masks. Remember that? Oh, boy. Back when we cared about the health and safety of the public. What a time. What a time. But yes, we were introduced to a lot of these kids wearing masks, and gyms were still kind of sort of trying to do social distancing and all of that good stuff. But now you guys have finished your high school careers. You're probably going to be going off to college. Some of you have made all state, some of you have made all conference, some of you have scored 1,000 points, and we're going to miss y'all. But we are definitely going to keep up to date with what you all are doing. So, been an interesting, season to, parcel out and get through. But I think the things that I want to talk about the most really don't have that much to do with on the court stuff, because there's so much in relation to what's been going on outside of that can have an immediate impact on the future of Delaware basketball. Like, for one, there's a proposal going around possibly that everything in Delaware is going to be split into divisions, not just football. We're talking basketball. We're talking baseball. Field hockey already is. They're talking about doing it for volleyball. They're talking about doing it for everything. And I want to say that it's stupid, because if you're going to water down a product that does not need to be diluted any further, and I'm talking about all sports, I'm not just talking about basketball. I mean, if you're gonna private school proof the state tournament, which is basically what this amounts to, you're being punitive towards schools that have only done what anybody else in their situation would do, and that is take advantage of what has been given to them. And what has been given to them is the destruction of public education, not just in Delaware, but everywhere. But in Delaware, it's starting to become more of a reality. So when I think about the state senator that is introducing this legislative act, and the executive director of DIA, who seems to think this is a good idea. Again, it's laziness, because instead of trying to figure out what's going on, why public schools are suffering so much, it's just, oh, let's just split everything up and give everybody a trophy. I can guarantee you, and I'm gonna post a clip of this on Instagram so folks can comment if they like. So I can guarantee you, if you surveyed 100 Delaware high school basketball players, I guarantee you at least 90 of them would say, I don't want to play for a D2 title. I want to play for a state title. And if you ask, because there are 56 coaches to a side, well, 58 actually. There's 57 girls programs and 56 or 55 or 56 guys programs. So you survey any amount of those coaches. If you survey all those coaches, more than half will tell you the state tournament is fine, just like it is. That would be a mix of public schools, vocationals, charters, parochial schools. There's nothing to be gained by just constantly chopping stuff down, because nobody is brave enough, nobody has the common sense, and no one has the logic to start to explore why public schools are suffering so much, not just in academics, but athletics as well. That makes more sense than saying, okay, we're just going to split everything up to keep everybody happy. All you're going to do is tick more people off, which doesn't make any sense to me. So I think Delaware is one of the last states to have a single champion for boys and girls, because it was brought to my attention that Indiana now does like different, divisions and tiers and all of that. And Indiana was one of the first states ever to have a state tournament, and they were doing it single division forever and a day. And Indiana's isn't that much bigger than Delaware, but it's big enough. I mean, even Rhode Island is going down to 2 or 3 divisions. It's like Rhode Island is smaller than Delaware. Why is Rhode Island doing it? I don't know. But I don't think that chopping sports up into divisions addresses the inequalities that go on with sports in Delaware. It just doesn't. That's just my opinion. If you're going to chop stuff up, then you're just only giving in. You're basically saying, oh, well, we don't care to change it. There's nothing we can do to change it. Let's just go ahead and give everybody a trophy. Ridiculous. And the kids deserve better. The people that love the game of basketball in Delaware deserve better. The people in other sports deserve better. Do you think baseball cares? Everybody was upset that Sal's won a state championship last year. Can anybody remember the last time before 2024 that Slasiana won a baseball championship? If you can answer it in the comments. Please do. Can anybody remember the last time that anyone outside of Cape? Oh wait, that just happened recently, didn't it? Tatno beat Cape in the girls lacrosse state championship game a year or 2 ago, wasn't it? It doesn't matter. If you are well coached in any sport, if you're well coached, if your kids buy into your system and they have a reasonable amount of talent, you can compete in any sport in Delaware. I don't care what anybody says. It just doesn't make sense to me just to keep chopping stuff down just because y'all don't want to admit that y'all are too far, in cahoots with charter schools. I was going to think of another term, but that's not PG-13. Shout out to my guy R-Truth from WWE. I don't even think that's PG. We want to keep things PG around here. So yeah, but you guys are too far deep in each other's pockets with charter schools than to admit that y'all killed public education. Whether that was an accident, whether that was intentional, who knows? But you're not going to cop a plea to that. You're just going to keep pushing that. You just keep kicking that can down the road, saying, "Okay, we've destroyed Christina. We've destroyed Red. Well, Red Clay destroyed itself. Honestly, Red Clay destroyed itself by DMA, Conrad, and that's no slight to either of those schools. It's not. But the fact of the matter is, why is AI AI used to have probably 2,000 kids when I was going to high school back in the day. Why is McCain, who used to be decent in a ton of sports? Why is Dickinson, who used to be a contender? They used to be a contender in a ton of sports. They're falling by the wayside slowly but surely. So my question is, why are we not just exploring how public education has just absolutely been knocked senseless because of this obsession with charter schools and I'm a Vo Tech grad. Don't get me wrong. I love my Howard High School technology diploma, and I love my time there. And I still love Howard High School to this day. That's why I tried to stop going. That's why I tried to balance out my coverage so nobody can accuse me of being a Howard High homer. So, I go to Howard, when I can. And they like to see me there. But, I mean, there's 50 other schools that need to be addressed. So I try not to, spend too much time at Howard. But I love Howard High School technology. But I can admit that Howard High School, as my mother went to it, as my father went to it, as my aunts, uncles, and even my grandfather went to Howard back during the Great Depression era. So Howard is in my blood, but it's not the Howard that I went to from 1995 to 1999. Yes, I've been out of high school over 25 years. Been out of college just about. Time, people, it just gets away from you. But yes, I mean, even down to, just the obsession with, just clearing all things out to make way for charters and parochials, it just killed public education in Delaware, in my opinion. And no one wants to face that fact. People just want to keep saying, oh, wow, the public schools are failing, so let's just, let them die. Okay. But I can tell you from experience dealing with some charter schools, because my younger brother went to Great Oaks for junior high. And that was the most most displeasurable experience I've ever had dealing with anybody in education. And granted, I mean, my younger brother, he's not even my kid, but, I was helping my mom out, because, just trying to be, a help. And I almost got myself in trouble dealing with whoever was dealing with Great Oaks at the time. Apparently they've changed, whole administration since 2018. But there was a point where a security guard had to ask me to leave. That's how ticked off I was with Great Oaks. And this was 2018. I shudder to think that charter schools have not gotten any easier for kids that they don't deem attractive to their school environment. And I just don't, see, and I don't see how that benefits anyone, because there are kids over East Side in Wilmington, South Bridge. People are trying to call it South Wilmington now. BS. It's still South Bridge, and it'll always be South Bridge. People over North Side, people East Lake, West Side. There are people that are struggling in those neighborhoods. And now you're going to say their kids can't get a good education because they don't fit the mold or the model of what a charter school student should be. How's that fair? How's that equal? It's not. And they know it's not. So are they going to do anything about it? Look who's in charge of the Department of Education right now. What's left of the Department of Education in the United States? A person who ran the WWE is in charge of public education and in charge of the Department of Education. That's all you need to know right there. So, I mean, I hate to make this a macro sort of deal, but it is. I mean, if you don't see that there's a problem that kids, that public school sports struggle because they don't have the resources, because those resources have been farmed out to charter schools and parochial schools with great big donors. What else can you say? But I can tell you now that chopping sports into small subdivisions is not the answer. Certainly not for basketball, because basketball is still one of those sports where you can get a surprise every now and then. I mean, we've had a public school in the Final Four for girls. Well, not this year, but in previous years, we've seen it a few times. We've seen it AI in 2024. Was it Woodbridge? It was Woodbridge in 2022. Who was it in 2020? No, it was 2023. 2023. Because Woodbridge lost to Ursuline in that Final Four. So yeah, it was 2023. All right, so we've seen girls teams make the Final Four before. On the boys' side, Dover just won a state championship in 2024. St. George's, while not a public school, is still sort of not, like a charter or a parochial. They were in the Final Four this year. Dover, of course, was in the state championship game again. Basketball is still one of those sports where if you put together a good team with good coaching, regardless of your school status, you can make a run. And people seem to forget that. And like I said, the people in charge, I mean, like, I really question whether the people in charge of DIAA like basketball at all. Like, I don't see it. Because, again, I hate to keep bringing this up, but it just really ticked me off that someone who is in charge of an entire arm of an a prep school organization, government funded, mind you, is saying that we need to cut down on basketball crowds because there are incidents. How many incidents were there in this year's state tournament? And yes, that happened at the Bob. So yes, it's a bad look. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it ain't. But to act like there's just this general lawlessness surrounding basketball, it's disrespectful, it's fictional, and it just seems to be very racist. Ain't no other way to say it. It just is what it is. And like I said before, people are going to say that I'm making those claims against somebody who is black, but there's an old saying in the community that goes, all skin folk and kinfolk. I'll leave it at that. But to say that basketball is just like this lawless sort of thing where you need to threaten people with arrest, where you need to have kids shake hands before the game, it's just like, do you even go to games? And yes, I've seen this gentleman at games, but he just literally just walks. I mean, like, for instance, we almost ran into the same problem we had last year with now Mayor Carney wanting to have a seat at the table, at the press table. Now, mind you, I don't have a problem with Governor Carney, Mayor Carney, whatever. But my thing is, if you're a biggest fan of basketball and you don't want to, you don't want to, interrupt the game or anything, you can sit your behind up in the seats like everybody else that bought a ticket. I mean, you can still have your security detail with you, whatever it takes. I mean, don't get it twisted. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't want the man to be protected. That would be a falsehood. I mean, we all deserve, to be safe watching the basketball game. But but for those of us on Media Row, it was just like ridiculous. I mean, Andy Walter, and I love Andy Walter because, I mean, when I interned for Andy at the Delaware State News way back in 2005. Yes, I've been around a long time. And he really taught me the value of hard work in journalism, and he really put me through a boot camp in that internship. Like, I learned that you don't leave until everything is done, not just for you, but with the entire newsroom. So Andy, and I have a healthy respect for Andy, and Andy, he needs accommodations. So why the hell does he have? I'm sorry, I cuss, but why the hell does he have to give up his seat for the mayor, governor, or anybody else? He should have. He's been around as long as Kevin Tresolini has, another person I respect and admire. He's been around as long as Brad Myers, another person I respect. All these guys. I mean, why are we pushing the media off of Media Row just so the mayor can have a seat? That's disrespectful in itself. Not just to anybody else that is watching the game, but for those of us who actually cover it and actually care about it. But it's just nothing about how DIA handles basketball makes sense to me. And I have no problem saying it. What Lil Wayne say on Duffel Bag Boy? I ain't never ran from it, and I damn sure ain't about to pick the day to start running. That's how I feel about most things these days. I mean, I'm too old and I've watched too much stuff go by to stop caring and stop caring about the larger, situation and stop caring about and start caring about whether somebody's mad because I said something or not. It is what it is. I mean, first speech, right to free speech is still First Amendment. It's still, for now, it's still a thing, but until it's not, and even when it's not, I'm still going to say what I have to say about high school basketball in Delaware. It can be handled a lot better. It can be handled by somebody who actually cares about the game, and it can be handled by people who actually know what's going on within the high school basketball community, not just in Delaware, but around the country, so we can be better equipped to, handle the talents of people like Gigi Banks, like Jaden Taylor, like Joshua Obiora, like Speedy Wilson with care that they deserve. And if we're not doing that, then you can't get mad when kids leave and go to other places. Like Numa Goretti is playing for a state championship this weekend, and they had two kids from Delaware, Alson and Jai, who of course was at St. Mark's last year, and Munchie Ashley Wright. And of course, his brother, big brother, Rob III, is playing Duke in the second round of the NCAA tournament today. You can watch that at 12 p.m. on CBS. I know I will. So I mean, and Lil Rob left for Newman Goretti at one point and then went to Montverde Academy where he was a teammate with Cooper Flag. So, I mean, we can't even, I mean, and Jalen Dern, who's with the Detroit Pistons now, he went to Gunning Bedford, but then went to high school in Philly. Kids leave because there's nothing here to keep them here. For basketball, anyway. But that feels like that's like design because, like I said, if you're going to threaten people with arrest because you have to hold your nose around black people, that's a you problem. That's not a us problem. But hey, you know, I mean, apparently that's the way this thing is going now, and it's unfortunate because this game in this state and the community in this game in this state deserves a lot better than what it's getting right now. And I mean, I really hated to turn this into like a Festivus session because Festivus was December 23rd and it is March 23rd as you guys are watching this. So I'm 3 months late. But I wanted to let the season go by before I got real heavy into things because, you know, it just didn't make sense to keep, you know, whacking people while there were still games going on. Because there was so much to like about basketball in Nowhere this year. I mean, when you look at the boys, I mean, this was the most competitive boys tournament we've had in a long time. This was a decent girls tournament for the most part. I mean, Kate, you know, they gave Sanford a heck of a run. Shouts out to Coach Pat Woods, by the way. He is resigning as the Cape girls basketball coach for family reasons. Totally understandable. But Coach Woods was one of the first people. I always say this whenever somebody leaves because there were a few people that believed in First State Hoops Report from the start, and I am wildly grateful to them. I think of Stan Waterman when he was at Sanford. I think of Rasan Matthews and Curtis Clack at Howard. I think of Dan Pisani at Archmere. I think of Kristen Caldwell at Caravel. And also got to add Pat Woods into that. And he had a real good run at Cape. Real good run. I mean, you know, Amalia Fruitman is a Division I basketball player. Absolutely. If you watched her play, you can see that she has that size, that guard size that D1s love. And she can shoot, she can rebound, and that comes under some good coaching from Pat Woods. So I'm gonna miss talking to Coach Woods after games and on the sidelines and different things of that nature. So shouts out to Coach Woods for a job well done at Cape. Hopefully he comes back at some point, but I mean, I get why coaches step away for family reasons. I mean, those of us in journalism, we've already been self-admitted that our personal lives are what they are, you know, but coaches and ADs, they kind of get tired of it after a point. I know they miss their spouses, they miss their kids. They don't want to keep, you know, missing out on family things, you know, because they have relatives that get older and eventually, you know, transition. So, you know, they want to spend more time with those folks. Completely understand. So shout out to Coach Woods. But yes, everybody, there are people in Delaware that care about this game, and they get and there are people and there are talented young players that get pushed away because the people in charge don't care. And it stinks. And I'll maintain that until I am no longer doing this, whenever that is. But again, I didn't want to turn this into a Festivus session, but I had a few things to get off my chest, especially now the season's over. Like I said, I didn't want to keep whacking people while the season was ongoing because it didn't make any sense to do so. Because like I said, we had a really good year. I mean, you look at the boys championship game. No, it wasn't pretty, but it was incredibly competitive. The girls Final Four, kind of anticlimactic, but there was still a lot of talent on the floor for all four teams. And a few of those girls are returning next year. Like St. Elizabeth returns their whole team. They're automatically my favorite for the championship in 2026. Yes, we don't know. We still are waiting to see what number 3 that wears the red and black is going to do. But, you know, I still think that St. E team returning a lot and having that defense that they have because they locked down on pretty much everybody in the state tournament. They were only giving up 23 points a game to teams, not to players, to teams, to whole teams. The whole teams were only scoring 23 points a game versus them in the state tournament until they got up to Caravel in the championship game. But again, Speedy just wouldn't be denied. Cherish wouldn't be denied. Bryson had a good game. Jordan Tate had a good game. Mackenzie Hunter hit a couple big shots. So that Caravel team was a team on a mission this year. They were the best team in the state from start to finish. I know a lot of people were upset that I took them out of the top spot after Ursuline beat them, but Ursuline was, I operate my First State Hoops Report rankings for teams on the Ric Flair theory. Be the man, you got to beat the man. And Ursuline was the man right up until they lost to Caravel in the Final Four. But yes, we had a great girls year. We had a great boys year. It just didn't make sense for me to just, air out anything during the season because I wanted to be focused to be on basketball. Now that I have a little time on my hands, yeah, I have no problem, calling things what they are. And that brings me to the all-state stuff. And I know a lot of people are upset because a few of their favorites didn't make it. And the DIBCA released their top 15s for boys and girls, blue gold, upstate, downstate earlier this week. That was a source of debate. And I get why people are upset, but this is why I tell you guys all the time what the process entails. Like nobody in the DSBA has said, hey, Chris, cut back on that. Hey, Chris, don't tell everybody our business. So until somebody does it, I'll be glad to share with you that the all-state voters are anybody who has seen a game or several games this year that works for a media outlet. And I'll talk about why that's important in a second. And coaches. And coaches, I think, like I said, coaches, they're the ones that kind of, some coaches, they operate from a space of, I don't want to say jealousy per se, but I just want to say, perceived reputations of certain players and certain schools and certain coaches in their own backyards, and they kind of penalize the players for it, and I think that's terrible. I do. I mean, put your biases to the side. Be objective, because that's what we in the media do, for the most part. I'll talk about one person that has it. I have no problem because he's due. He's due for me to just go ahead and let him know what it is. But before I get to that, there's a process when we vote for all-state, and that's why we always tell coaches, fill out your ballots, because it can't just be myself. It can't just be Brandon Holovec. It just can't be Brad Myers. It can't be Kevin Treslin. It can't be Sean Green. It can't be Mike Lang and Jason Winchell, even though we do a phenomenal job of it, I believe. It can't just be Andy Walter. I mean, we're still trying to recruit people for DSBA, for crying out loud. I mean, we've asked, I know a couple of people have asked the Delmarva Sports Network folks, and I think they do great work to be a part of DSBA, but they haven't, they sort of kind of ghosted us a little bit. And I think Delaware Sports Writers and Broadcast Association is a worthy thing, if not for anything else, to have it on your resume. I'm retired from resumes for the time being. Like, I'm happy with where I'm at in my career as a journalist. I mean, I cover black college sports during the day, and I do this at night, and I am happy. I'm very happy. So I mean, it would have to be an extraordinary job for me to, start, filling out, applications again. I mean, I'm good with where I'm at. But for DSBA, for younger folks, if there's nothing else, it's just something to put on your resume. You're like, yeah, I covered downstate sports, and yeah, I was a part of Delaware Sports Writers and Broadcast Association. Any other news outlets gonna look at that and say, oh wow, they can be an asset not just to our organization, but just in the overall fight to keep the free press free. So I mean, this is my plea to the DSBA folks. If by chance y'all check this out, we would love to have you. We're not discriminating against y'all. We would love to have you because it would help us with all state. Believe you me. But yes, before I get out of here, talking about media, I will say that I put this on my personal Facebook. If you guys are friends, if anybody who watches this is friends with me on Facebook, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I try to stay above the fray, especially during basketball season, because, if I just keep indulging people who insult me, my colleagues, or what we do, then that takes away from what we should be doing, and that's covering the game of basketball. But basketball season's over for now. And there's one person who has constantly berated myself. This person is constantly taking shots at the news journalists. And this person has consistently just shown themselves to be anything but an asset in the truest sense of the word, to the Delaware high school community. And people love this person. So what I'm about to say is going to hurt a few people. But let's be real about this. You can't consistently do crazy. You can't. I mean, it takes some stones. It takes some stones to show up to the DSBA meeting, not have your ballot filled out because you missed the deadline, but then you start taking little subliminal shots at everybody at the table, like, why aren't you guys covering downstate games? Well, we thought you had it covered. I mean, that's what you tell everybody. That's what you tell everybody. You're doing big things. You're here to support the kids and blah, 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 blah. But supporting the kids doesn't mean that you have to be messy and shady towards anybody who is doing the same thing as you, because we all chasing the same stories. Like, it's not like anything new under the sun here in high school basketball in Delaware. It's not like you can go out and just say, hey, you know, this is definitely going to scoop the news journal. This is going to scoop the Delaware State News. This is going to scoop WDEL. We all going to find out the same thing around the same time. It is what it is. This isn't New York City. This isn't Philadelphia. This isn't Chicago. This isn't the DMV. This isn't Los Angeles. This isn't Detroit. This isn't Dallas. This isn't Houston. It is the state of Delaware, which is smaller than all of those cities that I mentioned. So I'm going back to that Facebook status. I said I try to stay above the fray, but it warmed my heart to see this person get called out for their foolishness, because this person tried to break the news of the kid transferring, and then the kid's parents said, maybe you should talk to me first before you start breaking news. I always thought that's what journalists do. Oh, but that's right. You're not a journalist. Which boggles the mind why we keep giving you a DSBA vote. But if you want to be, you know, this person fashions themselves as like the Adrian Wojnarowski or the Adam Schefter of Delaware high school basketball. In reality, he's just a shade room. Just a bunch of, you know, snippy little gossipy attitude towards anybody that isn't him. And the fact that he believes that he should be the end all and be all for high school basketball in Delaware, when, you know, he knows that this state is small enough that things are going to get back to people, like the things that he said about me behind my back. Like he has the First State Hoops Report accounts blocked, which is really just like childish behavior, quite honest. But people consistently tell me things that you say about me, you say about other media members, and I don't know how you think you can keep fooling people like that. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you just know that I'm on to you, and it won't continue, because I'm just going to go ahead and say this now. Don't play with me. Play with something safe. Because I mean, yeah, you've really built up this amen corner for yourself, even though you've been kicking other people to get to this amen corner. But people are going to realize sooner or later that they didn't hitch their wagon to a Clydesdale, they hitched themselves to a donkey. And that's the politically correct term for what I really want to call you. But let's be clear about this. I'm here to cover high school basketball in Delaware. I have a good time doing it. No one else in the media profession attacks each other here in Delaware. You attack everybody else. Why? I think you know the answer deep down. And I'll let you sit with that. And that's going to do it for this edition of Holding Court. Greatly appreciate y'all's time. As always, contact information will be in the description below, as well as all of our websites and social media outlets and all those things. So that's my last little bit of, you know, airing of grievances for the foreseeable future. From here on out, it's all about basketball. I'm going to be talking about WNBA with you guys, because we have one WNBA player, you know, Benigna Laney Hamilton, champion with the New York Liberty. We're going to talk WNBA. We're going to talk about the mess that is the Philadelphia 76ers, because God knows, I don't know what they're thinking about. We're also going to talk about, and like I said, I plan to have some guests on, some folks that you haven't heard from in a while, some folks that are still making a name for themselves in the game. Very much looking forward to bringing those interviews and podcasts to you guys. So stick around. I'm not always this confrontation. I actually enjoy what I do, but I just had to make a couple things clear for the final time before I let it rest until they raise it back up, and then I can raise up like the Undertaker. But yes, thank y'all for watching Holding Court. Greatly appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy your week until next time we see each other in the gyms, wherever it be, because I know a lot of y'all see me in public, and I really appreciate y'all for showing me love. So until next time we see each other, y'all take care of yourselves and each other.